Swadika, good morning, and thank you for joining us on Newsline for Thursday, January 23rd of 2014. My name is Sandra Hanut-Saha. In today's top stories, the Foreign Affairs Ministry told foreign diplomats that the invocation of the emergency decree is not aimed at cracking down on protesters. And now on to today's headlines. The National Security Council says the government will not use force to disperse the People's Democratic Reform Committee, or PDRC, protesters, despite the enforcement of the emergency decree. Lieutenant General Pararon Patanathabut, Secretary General of the National Security Council, or NSC, said the reason the Center for Maintaining Peace and Order, or CMPO, invoked the emergency decree was for the officers to effectively carry out their operations, as well as to bring the PDRC leaders, for whom arrest warrants have been issued, to justice. He went on to say that police officers would still be the main force to ensure peace and order under the emergency decree. He assured all that the government's main approach was not to disperse the protesters, but to create an understanding with them. In the meantime, Army Chief General Prayut Chan-o-cha declined to give a comment on the enforcement of the emergency decree, saying the decision solely relied on the government. He, however, gave assurance that the military would not take sides and would do its best to protect the people, while expressing his personal belief that the situation has not reached the point where there is no way out. The Army chief called on both sides to find solutions through talks while it is still not too late. Labor Minister Chalom Yubamrung, as head of the Center for Maintaining Peace and Order, or CMPO, has pledged that he will negotiate with the anti-government protesters to end their activities without using force. After a meeting of the CMPO, Mr. Chalom stated that Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra had re-emphasized to security units the importance of practicing nonviolent means and complying with international standards when handling demonstrators. The CMPO chief, in return, called on the protesters of the People's Democratic Reform Committee, or PDRC, to respect the rights of others and quit their besiegement of government offices. Estimating that the number of rally-goers was dropping, Mr. Chalom disclosed a plan to seek talks with the PDRC in a bid to peacefully reclaim the protest sites, possibly starting with the one on Jangwatanat Road. The CMPO is scheduled to convene another meeting today, January 23rd, at an undisclosed location. It is expected that a clear set of rules and restrictions under the emergency decree, as well as other details, will be ready for announcement to the public on January 27th. Deputy Prime Minister Surapong Wichakchaikun explained the reasoning behind the enforcement of the emergency executive decree in Bangkok, saying the law would facilitate efforts to contain the situation and prevent it from becoming violent. Mr. Surapong also said the U.S. State Department had expressed concern over the situation in Thailand and vouched to support democratic processes and the use of negotiations to resolve political conflicts. He added the law would also help with progress in bringing perpetrators of recent attacks against protesters to justice. Information and Communications Technology Minister Anudit Nakhon-Thap said on Wednesday that people could go about their business as usual during the enforcement of the emergency law. However, they would need to provide collaboration to officials at vehicle checkpoints. People are also asked to refrain from assembling and from engaging in political demonstrations that are in violation with the law. The Foreign Affairs Ministry has assured foreign dignitaries in Thailand that the invocation of the emergency decree is not aimed at cracking down on protesters and will not inflame violence. Permanent Secretary to the Ministry, Sihasak Phongkekeo, held a meeting with 31 diplomats from 73 countries on Wednesday, clarifying the reason behind Tuesday's announcement of the decree enforcement. He said the Center for the Administration of Peace and Order had proposed that the government invoke the decree to better deal with the ongoing disorder. Mr. Siasak confirmed that the state of emergency rule was not aimed at banning public gatherings or dispersing anti-government protesters. The government had to impose the decree as a preemptive measure in the event of violence escalation in the future. There will be no censorship of media or setting up of curfews, said the permanent secretary. He added that the Thai government would continue to handle the situation in a peaceful manner and there would be no use of force in coping with the protests. The Thai Red Cross Society is asking all sides not to use its logo for wrong purposes, as it is a humanitarian organization that does not take sides. The Thai Red Cross Society posted a message on Facebook after a group of doctors and nurses had come out to show their stance by hoisting up the Red Cross symbol. The society said a red cross on white background is a symbol of humanitarian aid that will always be impartial, meaning the Red Cross will provide medical services to everyone in need, regardless of who they are or where they are from. The humanitarian organization went on to say the symbol should be used for two purposes only. First, all personnel wearing the Red Cross symbol must not be harmed in any circumstances. And second, its purpose is to protect lives and health while ensuring respect for all human beings. Therefore, the society is urging all sides not to use the protected symbol in the wrong way. The Lat Phrao rally has begun to carry out a big cleaning day after the government has officially announced the emergency decree. At the Lat Phrao rally site, the People's Democratic Reform Committee, or PDRC, members have started their big cleaning day. An average of 20 tons of trash a day has reportedly been collected since the protests began. Officials at the Lat Phrao rally site continue to keep a close watch, checking for weapons and explosives on those who enter the premises. Other rally sites, including those at Ratchaprasong, Lumpini, and Pathum 1 sites, have not begun any cleaning day. PDRC guards, however, have allowed taxis carrying the sick or injured to hospital to pass through in order to receive medical care. Although influenza and diarrhea have yet to be discovered among the protesters, the Public Health Ministry will be on 24-hour alert for possible infections. After a meeting with public health officers from 18 provinces nationwide, Permanent Secretary for Public Health, Dr. Narong Sahatmetapat, said the overall situation was still under control. He, however, assured that medical teams have been deployed in all risk areas to make sure that those who contract the disease receive medical treatment immediately. No cases of influenza or diarrhea have been reported so far, he added. As for the 14 provinces in the southern region, all health and medical offices are operating as normal despite the ongoing protests. The ministry is keeping a close watch on 4 additional provinces where rice farmers are gathering to ask for their payment. People living upcountry who need emergency medical treatment are encouraged to call 1669, that's 1669, 24 hours a day. The Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, or BMA, is gearing up for the upcoming general election scheduled for February 2nd and the advance voting on Sunday, January 26th. Permanent Secretary for the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, or BMA, Ninna Chalitanon, convened a meeting of the BMA's district office directors, election commission officials, and related personnel on the forthcoming elections at the Bangkok City Hall. Mrs. Ninad said the meeting was to inform the officials on the election process and the BMA's responsibilities to support a smooth and efficient election as requested by the Election Commission of Thailand. Towards that goal, the BMA has set up a coordinating center at the Administration and Registration Office on the 5th floor of the City Hall. The center has the BMA Permanent Secretary as its director. And amidst the rising tension caused by the anti-government rallies, Mrs. Ninad said directives have been sent to EC committees at all of the 33 constituencies, giving them practical guidelines in case of an emergency. The instructions include preparations of vehicles for an immediate evacuation in case violence erupts, leaving polling venues to safer places, and reporting to police stations and respective constituencies. The Center for Economic and Business Forecasting, or CEBF, of the University of the Thai Chamber of Commerce has highlighted the importance of having more special economic zones in border provinces, citing numerous benefits. CEBF Director Thanawat Phonwichai revealed that there were 3 border provinces considered to have the highest potential and readiness for the establishment of new special economic zones. They comprise Tak and Chiang Rai in the north and Sa Kaeo in the northeast. He insisted that the economic zones would be beneficial to the 3 provinces, where transport systems had been upgraded and border trade activity was high. Mr. Thanawat said the emergence of industrial factories in the border economic zones would attract migrant workers from neighboring countries and in turn prevent their concentration in big cities. Investors putting their money into such factories would also enjoy tax privileges and exemptions. As a result, further growth would be seen in border trade, lending support for Thailand's integration into the ASEAN economic community in the near future. According to the director, setting up a border economic zone usually requires cooperation from countries on both sides of the border in order to achieve mutual benefits. And that's the end of our first segment. We now take a short break, but coming up next, the Monetary Policy Committee has resolved to keep the policy interest rate unchanged due to the current monetary policy's ability to drive the economy. Stay tuned.
Open the world of information. Embrace public participation. Present Thainess to the world. New dimension of the government's public relations. The 80th anniversary of the Public Relations Department. Creative media for the society. Mobilizing Thailand towards the ASEAN community.
มนุษย์ทำลายสมดุลทางธรรมชาติและมนุษย์ก็เป็นผู้ประสบภัยพิบัติจากธรรมชาติร่วมสร้างอนาคตลดภัยพิบัติระดมพลังพลิกฟื้นคืนผืนป่าในทุกชุมชนทั่วประเทศ
For those who have Android smartphones, you can download a PRD News application by searching for PRD News English in Play Store. That way, you can stay up to date with the latest happenings in Thailand.
Welcome back. You're watching Newsline. And first in our business stories, the Ministry of Finance has collected about 5.7 billion baht less in revenue in the first quarter of this fiscal year compared to the year earlier. Director of the Fiscal Policy Office and spokesperson for the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Somchai Sachapong, reported that in the first quarter of the current fiscal year, October to December 2013, the government received 496 billion baht in revenue, approximately 5.7 billion baht, or 1.1% less than the previous fiscal year. Mr. Somchai stated the reason for the decrease in revenue being the auction of the 3G, in which 20.8 billion baht had been allocated to support the technology in the nation. Although the budget disbursement in the quarter mentioned was at 831 billion baht, or 5.7% higher than the previous year, Mr. Somchai stated that utilizing leverage to cover the government's deficit will in turn add to the economic growth of the country despite the ongoing political turmoil. The Fiscal Policy Office, or FPO, expects the Thai economy to be impacted by the imposition of the emergency decree, with the tourism sector to take the worst hit due to foreigners' loss of confidence. Following the government's declaration of the state of emergency in Bangkok and surrounding provinces, FPO Director Somchai Sachapong pointed out that the Thai economy would inevitably suffer a blow. He considered the emergency decree as a major negative factor and a signal that financial activities could come to a halt. According to the director, foreign investors have become hesitant about putting their money into Thailand and have to follow up the Thai political situation on a day-to-day business. Tourism, which is the nation's leading economic driver, is also receiving immediate impacts, as several countries have issued the highest warnings to their citizens against traveling to Thailand. As the high season is in full swing, huge losses are expected. The FPO estimated the 2014 economic expansion at 3.1% on the condition that the general election is organized on February 2nd as scheduled. Otherwise, the growth could be only 2%. The Monetary Policy Committee, or MPC, has resolved to keep the policy interest rate unchanged due to the current monetary policy's ability to drive the economy, while projecting that the 2014 economic growth will be below target. Bank of Thailand Governor Parasan Trairat Borakul, in his capacity as MPC chairman, revealed that the MPC board today voted 4-3 to maintain the policy interest rate at 2.25%. He said the board still viewed the currently relaxed monetary policy as conducive to economic recovery and believed that with the strong economic foundation and financial stability, Thailand would be able to withstand short-term negative factors, including the ongoing political turmoil. Although he insisted that the Thai economy could still hold up for a while, Mr. Parasan admitted that its solid foundation would be undermined if the political unrest dragged on and created a long-term impact. In that case, he assured that the MPC would be considerate and the topic of interest rate adjustment would be put on the table again. According to Mr. Parasan, the Thai GDP growth in 2013 is expected to turn up lower than 3%. As for this year's growth, there is a tendency for the figure to miss its initial target of 4%. The Tourism Council of Thailand will meet today to discuss and assess potential impacts of the 60-day state of emergency effective today in Bangkok and nearby provinces. Tourism Council of Thailand President Piyaman Techapaiboon stated that the impact on the tourism industry following the implementation of the emergency decree is the reason for today's meeting. The meeting will evaluate the situation and provide members with updates on tourist warnings made by various countries. According to Ms. Piyaman, the private sector wished that all concerned parties, including the government and the People's Democratic Reform Committee, or PDRC, would communicate with each other in order to find a peaceful solution to the current political deadlock. TCT, or the Tourism Council of Thailand, statistics show the number of tourists dropped by 5% from January 13th to 20th compared to the same period of last year. In normal circumstances, January is the peak period of the industry, but this January should not be the case. The TCT said it is calculating an estimated damage from the political incident and will announce the results to the public in due course. Thai shares fell on Wednesday as a state of emergency began in the capital, while other Southeast Asian markets traded slightly weaker, with sentiment dented by the possibility of more cuts in the U.S. Federal Reserve's stimulus. The Thai Set Index underperformed the region and was down 0.5% to a near one-week low. Other markets traded mixed amid lower appetite for risky assets, with many investors expecting the U.S. Central Bank to further trim its bond buying next week. The Malaysian and Vietnam indexes were down 0.2% and 1.4% respectively. Manila outperformed the region with a 2% gain as the IMF raised its growth forecast to 6.3% this year from 6%, with the country likely to benefit from faster growth in advanced economies and typhoon rebuilding. And before our next break, let's have a look at the exchange rates and commodity prices.
Open the world of information. Embrace public participation. Present Thainess to the world. New dimension of the government's public relations. The 80th anniversary of the Public Relations Department. Creative media for the society. Mobilizing Thailand towards the ASEAN community.
เมื่อมนุษย์ทำลายสมดุลทางธรรมชาติแล้วมนุษย์ก็เป็นผู้ประสบภัยพิบัติจากธรรมชาติร่วมสร้างอนาคตลดภัยพิบัติระดมพลังพลิกฟื้นคืนผืนป่าในทุกชุมชนทั่วประเทศ
For those who have Android smartphones, you can download a PRD News application by searching for PRD News English in Play Store. That way, you can stay up to date with the latest happenings in Thailand.
Welcome back to Newsline. Over 1,000 open-billed storks, also known as Asian openbills, that migrate to Buriram every winter, have laid eggs for the first time in the history of the province, while more than 150 other alien species have also been spotted in the area. At least 200 egg nests belonging to open-billed storks have been reported near a reservoir in Prakonchai district of Buriram. Officials said the birds have migrated to the area to feed and nest during the unusually cold season, adding that it was the first time in history that the birds had laid eggs in the province. According to the officials, the area is a wetland abundant with food for the birds and protected from human threat. Usually, the only place in Thailand that open-billed storks will lay eggs in is Pathum Thani province. The Buriram Provincial Administration has therefore invited locals and tourists, as well as students, to come and see the birds. Apart from the open-billed storks, more than 150 other species have also been spotted in the area, including rare and endangered species like painted storks, lesser adjutant storks, oriental darters or snake birds, little cormorants, and black-crowned night herons. And that's it for today's edition of Newsline. For any comments or suggestions, please feel free to email them to us at newsline.nbt@gmail.com. And this morning we say goodbye with footage of Mak Kaning in Doi Intanon in Chiang Mai. Have a great day. I'm Sandra Hanu Saha. Sawasdee ka.